Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you can come and visit. I'm having tea. I'm feeling European today, so I'm having tea out of a 5-ounce French teacup, Quimper, from Quimper, France. We were near there just before Christmas. It's over away from Normandy, from Paris. Anyway, it's tea time, and it's today we're going to talk about ways to see paintings and apples. I will finish with my apple and some chocolate to finish up my talk, but we'll start here now. So one more gulp and I'll start. Gulp is not the right term. That's an American term. It's a sip of tea, if we're being Victorian and very polite. Anyway, glad to have you all here. If you're not able to see this, please tune in and look at me on my post. My program on the post is posted on Facebook Live as well as on YouTube, and will be placed on YouTube later today. It will be posted on Facebook Live immediately after this session. I mentioned the other day, I have music in the background, and I'm trying this. If it's too loud, please tell me, and I'm going to turn it off in a minute. But music has become increasingly important to me over the last 3 or 4 months, mainly through my work with Mud Creative and working with the Drug Rehab Recovery Center in West Virginia. The role of music and beauty are a very important part of their therapy, and it's not music therapy, it's the presence of beauty, of art, in recovering their lives. So I'm going to turn this off right now. All I could get was chant today. Next time I'll have some classical music. This is Ave Maria to Thee, Holy Virgin, by a man named Singenberger from the Dominican Sisters of Dominican Sisters of Mary, Mother of the Eucharist, OFT. So I'm glad that the singers are here with us, and I'm going to turn them off now. And next time, I will try to select something from the Berliner Philharmonic. All of you, if you haven't done it, you should do it. You can get a free week's trial. I believe it's still on for the Berliner Philharmonic, and it's just amazing. Live stream concerts. They just created one without an audience in recognition of coronavirus. It was totally wonderful and amazing, as are all the others. It's so amazing to experience God's presence through perfection in music. Anyway, the reason I played the music was the first time I ever was able to really look at art was when I was in my early 20s here in Washington, D.C. I was living in Georgetown, and every Sunday night they still do, but they'd have a concert in the garden atrium. And in those days, they would leave the gallery open for about 45 minutes to an hour after the concert so you could walk around and look at paintings. Well, I was totally caught off guard. I'd been to the museum many times and looked at lots of things, and I hadn't even started my art business yet, but in the gallery. And I went after the concert. It was a classical guitar concert in the garden atrium, and I walked over into the Impressionist section, and there was a Monet painting of the river in France. He painted a lot of river scenes. I don't even remember the title, but I just looked at it like I looked at it many other times before. And the light, the shimmering light, the texture, all of a sudden, for some reason, I was able to look right into the scene and be there. That's looking at art. Now, it's not projecting yourself into it, it's calling you to look in. I'm going to explain a little bit how you do that, but the time that happened, I had no idea, and it just happened to me. And my prayer for you while you're at home is something like that will happen either to some of your paintings or something you see on TV. I would highly recommend looking up, they live stream it. It's the Galerie des Luminaires in Paris. It's new, and it started out with Van Gogh and Hundertwasser. I'm not sure what they have now, but it's this new methodology. I went 2 years ago with my nephew Brent, and you go into this room and it's all done by light projection. It's the most amazing thing. You actually walk on top of three-dimensional looking paintings. It's the most wonderful experience, and I would encourage you all while you're stuck in your house. I'm having a hard time today. It's been raining, so I'm defying it by elegance and good tea and talking about paintings. I hope it helps. Anyway, the Galerie des Luminaires, you can all look it up and see it. It's in Paris. It's in the Marais district where Twyla used to stay when she was there. It's amazing. And it's all done with music and projection. That's why I played the music today, because there is something between music and art that revives and draws out our creative imagination and draws out our longings and our needs and our desires. We won't go into other kinds of needs and desires that you can do through looking at art. But today, we're going to look at this painting. I hope you can all see it. I'm deliberately showing you one that, you move it to the side. I'm deliberately showing you one that is not framed, and there's a reason. The reason being, well, sorry about that, folks. I can't quite do it. All of it. I'll leave all of it so you can see all of it. Here's all of it. And you see it's a garden scene with a house behind, and with arbors, and it looks like lilacs and summer grass and then pine trees behind. I found this was done by an artist in Washington. I don't even know if she signed it. Let's see. It originally sold for $200. I got it for $10 at a thrift store. No one else wanted it. The artist's name is usually down in the right hand, and I can't read it. So there you have it. It was a woman artist who showed at a very important gallery in DC back in the 60s and 70s. Anyway, so to look at a painting, you don't just look at the center, or what are this color, or this color, or some general detail. What you do to really look at a painting is start looking all around it, like almost going like a circle and then an X. Go around, down, up, in different ways. Just keep moving your eyes around it, and it will begin to work on you, and it often becomes almost three-dimensional. Now, some paintings remind you of a story. I mentioned the other day a young man who said he doesn't understand how stories connect with paintings. He said, when I looked at American Gothic, I couldn't figure out what it was. And I told him, he's very good at math and computers, and I told him, and he's very aesthetically astute, but I kind of got the feeling that he trims my beard. He can't right now. But I told him that maybe he doesn't have that faculty, or he hasn't learned how to look. And so that's why I brought this up today. That's how you look at paintings. You go in a circle, across, horizontally, vertically, and then back around again. And just keep looking at it until your eyes start to work into the composition. This painting has a story, because my dear friends who are in our covenant group at National Press, Betty and Randy Elliott, her family has a house on the Cape, and this reminded me of their garden. It's not exactly the same, but it just reminds me of the wonderful times with her family and with our family, and all the wonderful love we've experienced together ever since we were in our 20s. And this I immediately saw it. It reminded me of that. I passed it many times and really not looked at it, but it went down to $10, and I thought maybe I better look at it. So that's why I got it. The secret of framing. I'm going to show you another painting now. The secret of framing is not to or matting is not to match a color like this or this. If you go to, well, I won't say where, but if you go to the mass-produced framing factories, they will say, oh, let's put a tan liner, which would mean a line about this size, and then a matte. Or they would use this tan matte and then a white liner. What that does is actually pop out details. You don't want to emphasize details in the painting because you want your eye to roam around. So whatever you put on the matte or the frame, well, for the matting, this should be probably reversed if you ever used anything close to this, but it should be a lighter cream, and it shouldn't be a bright white. It could be even, it could even be that color. Something, but nothing direct. So that's on matting. Now on framing, you want a frame that makes your eye go around the piece. It could be period. We can even now in my business replicate any kind of historic frame anybody wants. Hand carved, gold leaf. We also have, we can also frame things very simply. But whether it's simple or elaborate, you want something that takes your eye across and up and down. Maybe tomorrow I'll show you a historic frame and a painting where it takes your eye across and up and down, and I think you get the idea. It's actually a German frame, but based on a French style, very Baroque and very deeply carved. I think you'll find that really interesting, and I'll make sure that comes out tomorrow. Now, I'm going to show you something else. So this is a painting which, there are such things as realism paintings, which are like a classical still life, very much like the portrait of Twyla up above here. That's what you would call a realist painting, and that was painted by William Swett Charnock, and that was painted in our tiny house in Georgetown. And our house was so little, he had to almost stand out on the street to paint it. The couch had to be put up on blocks so that he could do it with the right perspective, and he was constantly falling on the stairs in the opposite end of the room. This is my fantasy how my wife Twyla would spend her afternoons. If you notice, there's a dog on the floor. Oh, I can't point and do this. Oh well, there's a dog here on the floor, and then there's a cat here. That was Witsy, and this was Maggie, my dog. And they both came into the marriage. Witsy came later. Maggie came into the marriage. I designed the outfit that Twyla is wearing, including a necklace, which I gave her, which is an Art Deco piece, and the skirt of her skirt was overlaid with. I found something to overlay it, but underneath it was a Victorian petticoat, a really beautiful Victorian petticoat, and the blouse, which looks medieval, was gotten in somewhere like TJ Maxx. She's reading poetry. She loved poetry. She loved T.S. Eliot. She loved any kind of the poets, and to me, this symbolizes her love of music. And of course, there's a teacup back there too. So she's having tea, and if you look right here in the foreground, just below her skirt, you can see the teapot, and there's some other artifacts there. So let's get back to, I'll tell you about the Madonna and Child later. That's saved for a Sunday. So let's get back to what I was going to show you, and then I'll be about done. This is a painting which was part of an exhibit I had at the gallery. He's a New England painter. He works on the Cape and in Boston. The first time I saw this, it reminded me, of eucalyptus trees. I'm not sure where it is. He's never told me. It could be in California. But in any case, it's trees in the fog. I took one look at this and told Twyla, I have to have it. I don't know how we can, but we have to have it. he told me when he did this, I believe his name was Don Journey. I'll check on it. It's not even signed. It was almost a sketch. He said he's never done anything so indefinite. And he said he was scared to death to not overwork it. It was a really difficult thing to do. You can, in the foreground, you can see a road, a dirt road, and a little bit of water. But Twyla loved it too, and that's why I bought it for her, because there's a row of eucalyptus trees on the way up to where her parents lived that our girls just love to go. This reminds me of all those times we went out there in the summer and enjoyed the cool fog while it was all hot and sticky back here. So that's the story, but the painting itself is amazing. If you do, again, the cross thing and around, you begin to see different things in it. It's a very calming, peaceful painting. I did not frame this, but it's perfectly framed. See, there's a little gold line which makes a bridge between the frame and the painting. That's a very important thing. And the dark frame, instead of a light frame or a bright gold, makes your eye, if you can look at it for a bit, it makes your eye go right into the image. You just go right in. This gold line teases you, and then this pushes you into it. Even the shape, the convex shape, pushes you into the image. I hope you like that. It's one of my favorite paintings. I would bury it with myself, but I'm not ready to be buried, and I don't think my daughters will let me do that. But it reminds me so much of my love for Twyla and for her family and for just wonderful summers in cool, foggy Eureka in Northern California. The thing about Northern California is you can have a fire in the fireplace in July and August because it's freezing, it's damp and cold. Wonderful damp. You can walk the beaches and pick up rocks. There are lots of, not too far from here, there are a lot of, I don't know what you call them, but little ponds in rocks when the waves go out, and you can see all kinds of sea urchins and seals come up and greet you, and it's an amazing place. If you ever go there, go to a place called Trinidad, which is the most marvelous little fishing village. One morning I went out with my brother-in-law, Steve Seeley, down to the beach to have devotions, and there's a cliff, and you can look down in the lighthouse, and you can look down on the beach. And the fishermen and yellow slickers were taking dinghies out to their fishing boats out with this dense fog. It was so amazing. It was so magical. It looked just like some of the wonderful paintings of the fishermen in New England. So that's how you frame, or at least a little taste. So now I'm going to go talk about ways of seeing. There are ways that we see emotion. There are ways that we eat food. There are ways that we see food, not seafood, but look at food, and ways that we consume, either what we see in beauty or food or whatever. I got my mind on this apple. Now, I've said this so many times in conversations with all kinds of people. But the one thing I love about going to Europe is I love to see, like young families, the mother will pull out of a simple sack a beautiful apple. In America, we usually chop them up when we take them to lunch. Or we eat to fill up. And I think this is a good time during our quarantine. Somebody sent a really great meme. Is quarantine equals I'm not in quarantine, I'm artist in residence. So I am artist in residence today. And this is an apple. Look how beautiful the apple is. Look at the colors. Again, do like you do with the painting. Go around and in and out. And look how sensuous it is. We're afraid of sensuality, and we're a practical nation, and we just eat to get filled up and don't take time to aesthetically appreciate what we eat. So getting back to Europe, I keep seeing this image, and I've seen it here. I have a German friend. When she was a young mother with her children, she would pull out an apple when they were somewhere, and she would eat it. She would go a little bite, and then before she even bit, she'd look at it and just enjoy it. And I think that's how our whole that's the opposite of how our culture treats everything, from sex to food to work, everything. we don't enjoy it. We just do it to get filled or to produce something. So that's my lesson on an apple, and I hope every time you pick up an apple or some other fruit or vegetable, you first look at it before you eat it. That's the other thing when you go to restaurants. I've just observed that in France, and it's true in Germany and everywhere else. But when Europeans eat, for the most part, if it's in a restaurant, when the food comes, they look at it, they convert, they'll look at it and say, oh, how wonderful this food is, this apple. Shall we eat? And then they wait for the other person to start. Here, it's just practical. It's bad manners if you eat before anybody else, but I have a very bad habit of just eating to get filled. And I'm getting filled up with other wonderful things and in my soul, and that's better than the other. So today we're going to finish this tea with a piece of chocolate and apple. And look how beautiful this chocolate is. It's such a beautiful dark brown. How thin it is. And then, instead of gobbling this, savor the taste. Just take a little bite and savor it. Delicious. And more than that, it's enjoyable and pleasurable. So today, while you're stuck in your house, enjoy what you have and make it pleasurable, please. My prayers and thoughts are with you all, and I'm so glad you came. And tonight we'll go on to the next chapter about the beavers, the Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe with 7. So thank you all for joining me today. Oh, and I wanted to just, before I go, I won't talk about this. Today I'm wearing a different cross. I just feel bonded with Christians who are being persecuted and with people suffering with coronavirus in Russia. This is a very old cross, an old believer's cross. I'll explain it on Sunday. Sunday is our icon day for tea. So I hope you have a good day, and God bless you all. Thank you.